This is close proximity, by the way. You're fucked.
That's right.
You're assuming that we were fine and not asymptomatic.
I'll just do a head count to make sure there's not 500 of us.
Yeah.
No, we're okay.
All right. No,
you
it's
didn't
close.
count my personalities. Yes, I can be fucked as a singular.
Beauty babes.
All right, ready? Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Serious Yahoos. My name is Justin. I'm here with Toasty.
What's up?
And Julia.
Hi.
Yeah, episode 4, man. We're getting things done. We're seeing some films. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So this time we have a couple of interesting ones. Snowtown is the first one we're going to look at from 2011, also known as the Snowtown Murders for whatever reason. Directed by Justin Kurzel. Starring Daniel Henshall, Lucas Pittaway, and Louise Harris. It has an IMDb rating of 6.6 out of 10, a Rotten Tomatoes audience rating of 66%. And as a friend suggested to me to maybe make it a bit more relevant to Australians, I've looked at the Margaret and David ratings. So Margaret Pomeranz gave it 3.5 stars, and David gave it 3 stars. So it's all pretty mediocre, pretty average, right?
3.5. They only do out of 4, don't they?
Out of 5.
Out of 5. Yeah.
Really? Do they?
Yeah.
Oh.
But, you've got IMDb rating of 6.6 and audience rating from Rotten Tomatoes of 66%. So, yeah, kind of even there. But, yeah. So, Julia, can you please read the back of the box and tell us about Snowtown?
Sure. So, when 16-year-old Jamie is introduced to a charismatic man, a friendship begins. As the relationship grows, so do Jamie's suspicions, until he finds his world threatened by both his loyalty for and fear of his newfound father figure John Bunting, Australia's most notorious serial killer. It's I feel like that doesn't really tell much to what it could be. It's quite a brief blurb, but I'm really excited because I'm fascinated by what drives criminals, and I don't know if I'd necessarily say that John Bunting is Australia's most notorious serial killer. I'd say that probably belongs to exactly.
Oh, what about so serial killers? Yeah, I was going to say Martin Bryant, but that was more just mass murder.
Yeah, that was mass.
Excuse me.
That was straight up mass murder.
Yeah, I know you've been looking forward to seeing this one for a while, and there's always true crime is always in the popular culture. Popular zeitgeist. People seem to really want to know about true crime. It's never been a massive fascination of mine, but a good case is always a curiosity. So, and I remember this happening. I remember the Snowtown Murders.
What year was it?
The actual murders?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you remember, Julia?
Not off the top of my head.
1994?
It was the late 90s, I feel, when it was discovered. I feel that they actually went through a period of time and that we may need to re-record this intro after we've educated ourselves and make it sound like we know what we're talking about.
We can discover that through the magic of cinema.
Oh my god! No!
I'm excited. I love anything that is about bizarre crimes and behaviours and whatnot. I'm terrible at remembering names, and you guys know I do not watch many films outside of this forum, but I loved Wolf Creek.
Right.
I loved it so much. It was terrifying and exciting and engaging, and despite the mediocre reviews, I'm hoping the same for this.
I'm surprised it's got such mediocre reviews. I thought
3.4 is...
Well, I'm talking about more the sort of 66%.
Oh.
They're kind of like, I expected a bit more from this film because I'd heard so much about it. I mean, there's a lot of stars on the case, as they probably cherry-picked their reviewers. Who are they in the back here?
So we have...
The Empire Magazine, ABC Adelaide, the West Australian, and The Vine, all 5 stars. So,
and I trust Clem Bastow. I do.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll find out. What are your expectations, Toasty, for Snowtown?
Well, I tend to like true crime, but I don't tend to like horror films. So like, you know, or gore, or, you know, things like Wolf Creek, where I don't like dramatizations.
Right.
I like you know, documentaries on. I can watch like real things of the worst terrible shit, but when you try and dramatize it, I'm like, I don't want to see like the person screaming and the heartbeat and then the blood and the what's actually happening. I prefer to pick apart the Julia's a freak. I'd prefer to pick apart the actual evidence, the things that we know, because
Right.
I feel like otherwise we're looking at things we don't know. Also, I can't sleep at night. That's a big problem. So I think for me, I don't get the feeling that this is going to be a big like muffled screams, like you know, jump scare type thing. I don't feel like we're going to have that. I feel like it's going to be more like, you know, feeling sick in the gut, like, you know, tension, maybe a bit of violin in there somewhere, very Australian sort of cinematography. So I don't think that like it's something that I would ever go out of my way of watching, even though I've heard it's reasonably good. But I'm also not totally cynical about it. I'm like, oh yeah, they might,
Right.
especially because it's got I like the picture on the cover. I like the way they've chosen their font. When that tells me a lot about whether or not I'll probably like a movie, really, to be honest.
So the cover really sets the scene for you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a claustrophobia to it. There's a closeness of the two men on the cover. It's two men's faces. You can only see their eyes.
Yeah.
One's behind the other. Are they pulling strings? There's a lot of metaphors. There's a lot of layers to that cover. And it's also like the way they've taken the photograph. It's obviously an early morning light. They know there's a picture on the back with excellent depth of field. I picked it up. Excellent depth of field, picture of kids. I feel like there's going to be some Australiana, like some faded images of kids in high-waisted jeans doing some stupid shit.
Yeah, so I'm not even sure where Snowtown is in South Australia, but I imagine some long shots of kind of open, scrubby desert plains and
open
stuff.
space and bored children.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see the way they handle the corruption of the character. This, you know, who's maybe a lost soul, you know, or due to, I don't know, maybe family or something like that, is a bit directionless or traumatized even.
Hashtag drugs.
But there you go, it could be drugs. So yeah, as I said, I'm not massive on true crime, but when there's a good one that comes around, I'm always curious to see. Yeah. I think it's going to be a bit of a slow burner as well. It'll probably take a while. I don't want to say plod through its plot, but it will develop its plot in a paced momentum.
I don't expect there to be any rock. I don't expect there to be any car chases.
No.
You know, there's no Italian job in this. It's going to be South Australia and some people in friggin' what do they put them in? Bins?
Barrels.
Barrels.
Yes.
Bodies in barrels doesn't tell you about some high adrenaline stakes.
Some
sad shit.
Thinking about decomposition, man.
Yeah. This one likes it.
The director did recently did the True History of the Cali Gang, which was released this year to a lot of popular things. So I'm kind of curious to see. I haven't seen that yet, but I'm really interested in seeing it. It's on my list for sure. So I'd be curious to see how it does with this one as well.
Yeah.
The second film we have is called The Year My Voice Broke, from 1987, written and directed by John Dugan, stars Noah Taylor, Lauren Carmen, and Ben Mendelsohn. It has an IMDb rating of 7.3 out of 10, Rotten Tomatoes audience rating of 84%. David Stratton gave this 5 stars.
Bro.
But unfortunately, I couldn't find a ranking for Margaret Pomerantz.
Women, you know, losing out.
No, it's more
patriarchy. He just boofed her away and was like 5 stars, bitches, and then punched her in the face.
SBS or the ABC took all their rankings or all their old stuff offline. So there's a really fabulous website that a friend told me about that has all their reviews listed, but some were lost, some aren't, you know, were cut off from the original television or
right.
So I can only find that. Apparently it's a autobiographical film about John Dugan, about his sort of coming of age time, about a couple of 3 friends and some love that develops in and out of them. But Toasty, I'll get you to read the back of the box for me on this one.
Well, I'll tell you that this movie is called The Year My Voice Broke. As a viewer, I'm most curious as to whether or not they fix it. We'll figure that out by the end. I'm excited about Ben Mendelsohn. He looks like and I think he's got Noah Taylor there as well.
Yeah,
Noah Taylor looks like he has just been born. We, these days, have many, we're lucky enough to have much Noah Taylor in our spheres of consciousness, including Star Wars, and, you know, obviously he was in mullet at the start. Or was it him and mullet, or was it Ben Mendelsohn? It was Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah,
mullet.
but he was in Guide with a Falafel in My Hand.
Yeah, and sorry, Noah Taylor wasn't in Star Wars. That was Ben
Predestination,
Mendelsohn.
yeah.
Noah Taylor has been in. What did I just watch him in?
Shine, Predestination.
Yeah, a bunch of cool shit. He's a G.
He's also in A Country Practice, apparently.
Yeah, and just recently, I swear I saw him in like a rock movie. To be honest, The Rock.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of one of those. He's made his way in Hollywood as like a sort of character actor, a villain sometimes.
He's often in a suit. He's skinny, and he's telling them to do bad things. And you're
Yeah,
like, yes,
or-
Noah Taylor.
Or in a place of power.
Yeah.
I looked through his IMDb listing, and he's played Adolf Hitler a number of times.
Yeah, he's just got that skinny vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah, he looks like he's just been born on this. It says 5 AFI awards, including Best Picture. The Year My Voice Broke is set in the summer of 1962 in a remote New South Wales country town. Adopted as a baby, 16-year-old Freya, Leone Carmen, is a constant target of cool gossip and speculation. She has massive blonde hair. I don't know how they're... Yeah. Spirited and independent, her only one ally is Danny, Noah Taylor, my boy, who has been in love with her as long as he can remember. From a distance, Danny watches helplessly. Oh, hashtag friend-zoned. I don't believe in that. As Freya falls for the town tearaway, Trevor, Ben Mendelsohn. Oh, this is literally all of my teenage dreams. I'm so excited. Trevor and Freya's relationship has explosive results that change everything and trigger Danny's discovery of the town's darkest secret. I'm going to just put a guess out here. She was adopted, but it's actually her sister who's her mum, and she got adopted by her aunt or some shit like that.
Wow, some real sort of...
Or fucking Ben Mendelsohn's her motherfucking dad, and she's making out with him. Who knows? But I'm guessing it's something to do with the adoption, and that's what the dark secret is. But he doesn't want to tell her, and she'll just think he's just trying to break up her relationship. It's going to be bad.
Yeah. I have no idea what to
You
expect.
can re-record that if you want to, that whole thing.
It's all fine. It's all staying in.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's one of those films that you hear about a lot as a sort of classic Australian piece of cinema, one I've never seen. That's why it's on the podcast. I'm
a bit skeptical though, because there's so many things where it's like classic and my parents are like, oh my gosh, the parents or the generation previous like, oh my god, it's amazing, and then you watch it and you're like, oh, they just didn't have any standards. So.
Yeah. Well,
Our standards evolve.
John Dugain is kind of one of those directors who sort of came up in the early ages of Australian cinema, like through the sort of 70s and 80s. Kind of one of the original serious Yahoos, if you will. You know, he, you know, they didn't really know what they were doing. There was a lot of trying different things and experiencing different things, and he's made himself quite a name. A lot of his other films that I looked up, I had never heard of. So I'm kind of curious to see what he's going to do as well.
Sick nuts.
Yeah, Julia, what do you think? What do you expect from The Year My Voice Broke? Oh, the sirens, they're just going to happen constantly. Yeah. That's the price we pay.
I have no expectations whatsoever because I've never heard of it.
Right.
It sounds like the Every Story. I feel like we've watched a couple of films about coming to age in country Australia town. No, there's usually a female character, but she is generally a lesser character in the films that we've watched so far, and I feel it's possibly going to be this way.
The thing with masculinity in Australian cinema.
All right. Are you okay, Toasty?
I'm fine. I'm not mad.
It might be nice to see a coming-of-age film from a female point of view. I can't...
Well,
Puberty Blues, bruv.
Looking for Alibrandi?
Yeah, okay.
Looking for Alibrandi.
Great.
Best film of all time! Melina My Cheddar, you're my boo, if you want to call me.
Both I haven't...
Honestly, call me.
I haven't seen either of those, so I can try and acquire them for the podcast and we can watch them.
Maybe we can set a theme for another episode. But I really don't have any expectations for this film. I know nothing about the director, given that I am...
Sure.
Not prone to watching anything.
So from the case, again, we've got a long shot on the front of the case. We've got a long shot of a sort of pastoral land, very dry and brown looking, like Australia normally is. A woman laying down and almost being hypnotised by a young boy standing over her sitting over her with a watch. Which I don't know what that says to you. Whether it doesn't say a lot. It's just a great shot, really. But it's a curious choice for the cover. Ben Mendelsohn, I am generally cold on. I've never found him convincing as an actor. I know I've had this discussion before. I'm always willing to give him a chance, but every time I see him on screen, all I can see is Ben Mendelsohn and not the character he's playing. So
I think he does things to women that maybe you might not understand.
Perhaps that's true.
He has a secret power, but it's just this tall, deep, voicey, convincing thing that I know he does something and that I appreciate and respect, even in a thespian sense.
We'll see how he does that. So the next question is, what do we watch first? Can you say that out loud?
Snowtown.
I'm down.
Snowtown it is.
Snowtown and down.
Okay.
Woo! We're going to barrel into this film.
So we're going to try things out slightly differently this session. We're going to...
He got there.
I just got it.
He got there in the end. I was like, he hates me.
I was only just concentrating on what I was saying and I didn't quite pick it up.
Yeah.
But we're going to try something a little different for this session. We're going to watch Snowtown and then we'll come back and discuss that and then go on to watch The Year My Voice Broke and discuss that at the end. So we will retire to the couch and watch some Snowtown and then come back for a bit of a chat.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. The leader wants us to discuss stuff.
You ever shot a gun before? Go on, pick it up, see how it feels. Feel good? Yeah? You wanna shoot it? Yeah? Shoot it. Oh, what? Shoot the dog. Go. Gimme. Gimme. Good girl. Gimme. Good girl. Huh? Shoot your dog. No. No? Why not? She's my dog, mate. I don't really give a shit. Oh, look, mate. You won't. You don't even have to look at her. You just shoot it. Yeah? Come here. Kelly, come here. Get up. You want to do something about this? Shoot the dog. Go on, mate, shoot it. Shoot it. Shoot the fucking dog!
Okay, we're back at the table after watching Snowtown. Julia, do you want to give us a quick synopsis of the film?
So, despite the short and undetailed, or rather brief blurb, there was actually a lot of content to Snowtown where it followed a young fellow, Jamie, who definitely, I would say, grew up in a disadvantaged household, and as a result of that upbringing and neighbourhood and lifestyle was easily manipulated by John, as well as experiencing some other traumatic events involving what I assume is a half-brother and a neighbour. Mm-hmm. And it's the story of... It's a story that follows Jamie as he is gradually manipulated more and more by John, and some of the acts that they undertake, either as individuals or together. And the severity of these acts increases throughout the film. It's a difficult film to describe succinctly without giving a lot away.
Who is John?
John is a fellow who appears in Jamie's life initially as a romantic partner of Jamie's mother, Liz.
It's all right to give away that he is... I mean, there's no time...
I guess, yeah, it's a true story. So John is the main murderer, I guess, the greatest murderer. Great seems an unusual word to use there. And he has a couple of accomplices, Robert, Mark, and eventually Jamie. And I don't know, like I found it difficult to describe. And Toasty said something before, and I have to agree with it. This is offline, where it was an interesting film, but I didn't like it.
Okay. Are you going to say something as well?
Oh, I mean, if the same director had directed it in that way and it was a coming of age film, like as I always mention, Somersault or something, I would have liked it. I liked the aesthetic. It just had a whole bunch of, sad topics. It's not like you can't touch on sad topics, but my synopsis of that would be like poverty, then these motherfuckers kill some people and put them in barrels. And it's bad.
Pretty much. I mean, we're introduced to the poverty quite quickly. Like it's obviously... So the murders happen around Adelaide for the most part. And after a bit of research, this all happened between 1992 and 1999. And Snowtown is a small town halfway between Adelaide and Port Augusta.
Don't know if the snow bit's is true or not, if there's lots of snow.
I don't know either. Becomes the sort of name for the case, the murders and whatnot, because that's where they found the bodies initially, and where the murderer stored the bodies. So yeah, the poverty is quite evident to begin with. There's lots of smoking, lots of scenes of poverty that I'm sure we've all seen growing up in rural towns. So there's lots of dirty sort of trash in backyards and like kids playing with shopping carts because there's nothing else to do.
Chipped paint, so much clutter. Definitely things that I think we all recognise from our own youth. But I think something I failed to mention is that it initially starts off, John's involvement initially starts off kind of as a reaction to the initial crimes of the neighbour, Jeffrey, who was exploiting Jamie and his brothers. And that's how we're first introduced to John, and he seems so innocent and sweet, and as a protagonist initially, as kind of a saviour of sorts for Jamie and Liz and the community, as this fellow who wants to do good, who wants to improve the community, who wants to fight for justice, But then we slowly hear that his version of justice involves, taking care of
pedos.
Yep. Well, pedos and homos.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of
and junkies. Yeah.
There's confusion around whether he's specifically targeting these groups or whether he just lumps them all in together. And it's an interesting evolution.
Yeah, he kind of draws a parallel between what he does as like, what the Anzacs did. They went off and fought a nemesis, an enemy, people doing bad things. And, I think his words were, if I'm kicking the shit out of a pinko or something like that, then why is that not the same thing? How is it different,
There's this chick that I know, I've known for a lot of years. Yeah. And she has this boyfriend, partner thing, whatever. And she actually found that guy in bed with her daughter.
How old was his daughter?
She was about 6 or 7 at the time. She kicked him out for maybe, 48 hours. Then took him back into her home with that daughter and just let him live there. Just let that fucker live in her house.
You wouldn't do that, would you?
Oh, fuck no.
What would you do?
Oh, first chance I got, I would fucking probably skin his penis.
What about you, Nigel? What would you do, mate?
Show him 30 over his ass and pull the trigger.
That's it.
That's too easy.
What else before that?
Right,
I know, I can see something in
that's
you.
too fucking
There's something
sweet.
else you'd do before that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'd kick the absolute fuck out of him.
Yeah, break every fucking bone in his body. Cut his cock off, shove it in his mouth. See you
So how the
later.
fuck do you like
Put
it?
a fucking candle in the cock eye. See you later, happy birthday, and then up the arse,
Yeah,
right?
just shove some bloody waterproof match heads up his fucking dick.
Fucking nice.
What about you, mate? What would you do? Don't be a fucking pussy, mate. Have a go.
Stop it, John.
Stop what?
Just your main shit.
You're saying it's okay for these people to just go on what they're doing?
I reckon you should just get them all in one.
It's just not even about
Get
that
a little
anymore,
paddock,
mate.
mate, and blow them all up. What are you even fucking talking about, Liz? It's not about that. It's not fucking mean if you kick the shit out of some diseased prick. He fucking deserves it. It's an Australian fucking tradition anyway. Eh? Look at Anzac Day, for Christ's sake. The whole country applauds a bunch of blokes who killed and tortured men, don't they? Why do they do that? Because they fucking deserved it, didn't they? See, I don't get it. What's the difference between me putting the boot in a fucking pink one and them killing a yellow cunt?
You don't have a badge. Yeah.
I don't have a badge.
You don't have a badge.
That's it. Where's my fucking parade?
Where's your day?
But yeah, the way he's introduced is quite. I mean, he comes in as a good force. He's kind of seen like in a house that's seen a lot of trauma and trouble and poverty. But the actor playing him, Daniel Henschel, is just nails it. It's just like this
So creepy.
coldness behind the eyes and this psychopath kind of.
Yeah, I want to check on him.
Yeah, like everybody in this film is actually cast very well. Like it was kind of captivating to watch them. Everybody convey the emotions. It was. Oh man, I felt anxious kind of through the whole thing.
Every character was really believable. Like the actors, I don't know if I would necessarily be able to watch them in something else and separate them from these roles. Like they definitely really owned who they were. Like, and everyone was believable. Like looking at Jamie, he has the face of, you know, people. Like he's this meshy face of people blended together. And all of these characteristics and qualities of people I remember growing up with. And you can see him as, you know, someone who really, really was affected by poverty. And he has this hunched stance and just this kind of shriveled way of moving. And he's so passive in things.
Learned helplessness and all that.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm really curious to see them in something else just to kind of clear the palette. Like, I'm pretty sure I've seen Daniel Henschel in something, like in maybe even a commercial, like an ad for like BCF or...
BCF?
Like a fishing camping store or, you know, like a beer or something like that. I'm sure I've seen his face around as an actor. I mean, yeah.
He was really good.
Yeah. The sort of predictions of the style of the film was spot on for all of us. It was very much a slow burning, long shots, a lot of shaky hand cam stuff.
I did like the they did these bits where it was like the most. I would say that they'd use that style if they were shooting someone who was on like ice or something, but that doesn't relate to this. But I guess more that they had these sped up bits of anxiety where they were fast forwarding the breathing of everybody in the shots, and it was almost like strobe-ish.
Yeah, a visual strobe.
Visual strobe.
Consistent lighting.
Yeah.
You know, and that to me was it could have been fucked, but it was really good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Very effective.
I liked everything about the film except for the content. Which means I like the way the actors acted, I like the way it was stylized, I like the way it was directed, I liked everything about it, but I just didn't want to watch this arsehole. It was just so real.
Yeah.
And it was also quite long. It was just so real. It was almost like they'd just taken a camera and shot when it was actually happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, that for me wasn't my diet, well, my cup of potato chips or whatever, but it was good. It was all good. I didn't. It's just really fucked. You know?
Yeah, they set the scene and set up the film really well, and setting up the trauma and the poverty of the household, and bringing John into the situation, and some of the other characters as well, and the state of the suburb they live in. Maybe they could have shaved 20 minutes out of it, you know. But I mean, I was engaged, and I still feel a little bit nauseous, kind of thing. It was just such a intense film. I want
to watch the special features.
Yeah, well, I never want to watch it again, but I'm glad I've seen it. You know, it's that kind of film.
Yeah, I think we all agree on that perspective, where we all enjoyed it as a film, but would probably not watch it again.
Yeah. Would you be interested in seeing anything else by the director?
Yes.
Whose name I've just forgotten, Justin Kurzel. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I really want to go and hunt out the true history of the Colour Gang now. I'm kind of super curious to see what else
He told a difficult story very well.
We do have this Australian thing with like crime and boys and like Animal Kingdom and like Snowtown and like whatever that crime, that boss show was. what we had.
Boss show?
The crime boss show, where about all the murders.
Underbelly.
Underbelly, like we've got this thing about like Aussie, you know.
Yeah, but it's not. I don't think it's just Australia though. It seems to be universal the world over. Like at least in the Western world, I can say. You know, you see a lot of that from the British, Peaky Blinders, and thousands of cop shows.
I guess it's more this like weird.
I think it
lino
refers back
poverty.
to
Murder.
Lino
Poverty murder, like 90s lino poverty murder.
Right.
I don't know.
Oh, as in that's the way it's done in Australia, so we kind of picked a decade to focus on all of the crime. Maybe that's when we were committing all of our crime.
Yeah, I mean, there's also this, the Kelly gang's obviously not in the 90s. Like, we have this colonial crime, but I really do think we really focus on this suburban crime thing, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just thinking, it reverts back to what we were saying before we watched the film, where we do tend to, like, there is this fascination with true crime. And there are lots of films and television shows and books and theatre plays. I mean, it's become part of our entertainment, is to become the third person watching these things unfold. And I think there's a certain fascination when you know it's real. And when it happened in your country, in your backyard, there's a bizarre connection to it, even though you were not involved at all.
It's interesting. I'm casting my eye across all the DVDs we've watched for this, and a lot of them are about crime and play Jasper Jones, Sweet Country, Death in Brunswick.
Colonial crime, suburban crime.
Yeah, it's smack bang, yeah.
Lino murders.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly it. You really nailed it. I mean, we do have these small town dramas, and I guess crime is, it's prime for creating drama, you know, or for setting drama within. It's I don't know. It's not. I mean, as someone who's not big on true crime, I guess it's really engaged me. Maybe because I've not seen a lot of true crime and I generally avoid it, but this was, this really, I mean, I feel really anxious still just after watching it, you know. I'm looking forward to the next film so I can, think of something else. From a production point of view, was there anything you liked and disliked about the film?
Shaky cam, didn't like it.
Got a bit tired of that?
Yeah, but I liked the sped up anxiety scenes and the, I mean, it was beautifully shot. I loved everything about it except for the shaky cam.
I found the music to be perfect. It was like not overbearing, and it didn't stick out. It's that kind of thing where it's so good that you don't notice it, but it sets the scene so well.
Perfect for creating ambience.
Yeah.
It really,
tension,
it definitely heightened the atmosphere of the visuals.
Yeah.
What I found, I feel in two minds about the music. So the music itself was really great, and I loved that there were no songs from the radio. Like, there was no lyrics or anything that interfered with the dialogue of the characters. They didn't try and use any music to set a scene beyond minimal use, and I liked that. I felt like it was like having a face full of makeup versus someone who's wearing just eyeliner or just mascara. It was good as a highlighter. What I didn't enjoy about the music is there were a couple of scenes with very loud thumpy music, where it was kind of like not quite a heartbeat. I don't know the right word for it.
Nolan does that.
And although it was effective, it felt overbearing.
Right.
And I felt that in those moments it detracted from my enjoyment of the scene.
Fair enough. I think the lighting of the film was great. Like, it had that fluoro blue light, and it's just always, I think of Chopper, you know, another classic Australian film that sort of uses that to sort of show off poverty, and, you know, because you've always got fluorescent in the kitchen or something like that. You just don't get that in, you know, rich apartments or locations because it's a harsh light. The talking over each other was really good. Like, right at the start, there was a conversation at the kitchen table where it was that kind of stilted Australian dialogue that I kind of mentioned in the past, and I'm kind of used to it. It's always distracting, but there's plenty of other scenes where it was almost like they're ad-lib, like when Jamie was talking to his junkie friend and they were just kind of like talking about a relationship or an encounter one the junkie had.
What do you mean by stilted?
Like, you know, it's usually like there's always a bit of a gap between conversation, you know, where conversation's not normal like that. We talk over each other, you know, with the positive affirmation, you know, whereas it's all
great,
very
buddy.
scripted.
Exhibit A.
Yeah, where in the past with Australian films, it's all felt very scripted. Somebody would say something, there's a pause, the next person would say something, you know, and it always took me out of the film. But this, like, there was lots of talking over people, but you could still understand what was going on, and some kind of ad-libbing or well rehearsed in the way they did it. Yeah,
I did feel like every single conversation here was amazing. The only thing was that their dad, when he was speaking at one point, I felt like it was acted.
Right.
The only actor at any point, and that was in just this one moment where
Sure.
I was like, that seems scripted. The rest of it, they all seemed like they were fucking povo people sitting around a table going, I want to fucking kill Peter. So that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like actors being given lines.
No,
It was
felt
scary and
natural.
stressful and shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It felt natural, and I enjoyed that. Going back to the scene with Jamie and his friend, who probably had a name, but I can't recall it, that was easily my favourite scene, because it was the only in the whole movie. It was
in the whole.
No, they were
Oh,
sitting in the
yeah.
hall.
yeah.
Sorry.
I was just clarifying. That was probably my favourite scene too.
So yeah, so for
was
context
nice.
for the listeners, at one point John and his main henchman, I'm going to call him Robert, dug a deep hole in John's backyard, and there's a scene where Jamie and his friend, the junkie, who we've been calling him because we've all missed his name, was sitting on a couch in the hole, smoking from a bong, and it just felt so natural, and it was the only part of the film where Jamie seemed to have genuine enjoyment and meaningful connection with anyone without there being any tension or stilted relationships. Like there was no dynamic they were trying to create. They were just mates, and I really enjoyed that. And
That's what he needed.
Yeah, I felt like even though this character was involved in intravenous drugs, he was probably the most positive and healthy influence on Jamie, and John removed that.
Yeah, sure did.
Fuck this wind. I've had some fucking women upon that, but it's been a while since I've actually had some true love, eh? I don't know if you felt it before, but the last romantic thing I can remember doing, bro, like I say, it's been a while. And I went and dined her, did the whole 9-yard thing. I booked a hotel on Glen Osmond Road. Took her to a hotel on Eagle on, I think it's called Eagle on the Hill, right? It's a real classy restaurant, dude. Like, cost me hundreds of dollars, obviously, to pay for it and that. But she was worth it, mate. She was beautiful, you know what I mean? I loved her. And took her to the wine and dined her, you know what I mean? Then afterwards went to I think it's called Windy Point or whatever it is, to look out, right?
Up in the hills.
Up in the hills, right? Which was beautiful, you know what I mean? Got into each other a little bit heated, you know what I mean? But in that loving, caring, sort of nurturing feeling. Like,
Yeah.
And took her back to the hotel room, and it wasn't fucking, and see you later. It was something more to it, substance, mate, substance. Miss it. So what's he gonna do with this now?
He was talking about making a bomb shelter.
Who the fuck's gonna bomb us, brother?
I don't know, man.
Shit.
Yeah, he's got some big ideas.
Anyway, let's go back to the couch and try and clear our minds with a new coming of age story, which hopefully has some sort of positive things going on, because damn, I think we need it.
Yeah, I don't know. Ben Mendelsohn and Noah Taylor don't really bring the joy. Like they are some serious men. So
yeah, let's see what happens there.
There's no Hugh Jackman in this shit.
No, and we'll be back to discuss it in a moment.
All right.
Right, see if you can hypnotise me then.
You can.
All right. Give us your locket.
Are you relaxed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now watch the locket. Backwards and forwards. Listen to the sound of my voice.
Gee, you sound professional.
Are you going to do it properly or not?
Okay, I'll do it properly.
Watch the locket. Swing backwards and forwards. Backwards and forwards. And relax. Your eyes are getting very heavy. You're feeling very tired. My voice is very smooth and sleepy. You are so relaxed that nothing matters at all. Can you hear me? Lift your left hand. And drop it. Now when you come to, you'll find that you're extremely keen on me. In fact, you like me considerably more than you like that thug meathead, Trevor Leishman. And also, you'll be wanting to make love to me. Desperately. Now, I'm not going to do anything bad. So just continue to relax. I wasn't going to do anything. I wasn't going to try and take anything off. It was just... If it had been anyone else, the whole school would have been laughing at me. That was one thing about Frey. You could really trust her. You could tell her anything and she'd always keep it to herself.
So we're back after watching our final film, The Year My Voice Broke, directed by John Dugan. Toasty, can you give us a synopsis of...
You don't want me to do this.
Oh, yeah, I think I do.
You know what? There's some young people are living in an Australian town. There's some drama in the middle bit.
Let's start with some names first.
Some panty sniffing.
Some snow dropping and panty sniffing.
Some pregnancy and some drama. And that's all that's up, really. Okay, I didn't pay attention to the names, really.
Okay, so there's Danny.
Yeah, there's Danny. Which one was he?
Danny was the main character.
Danny was the main character. Danny was played by Noah Taylor. And it's kind of like, I feel like this was maybe written by a dude who was sort of reminiscing about growing up and
Definitely.
what it was like.
It was autobiographical.
Autobiographical.
Yeah.
So, he just kind of loves this other chick from afar. What's the other chick's name, Justin?
Freya. And
Freya.
They were friends from childhood.
They were friends from childhood.
They're
and they
all,
had this...
say, about 16 at the moment.
Yeah.
No, so she was older than Danny, and that was one of the comments that another character made. It's like, she's older
That's
than
right.
you are.
She was. She's maybe a year or two older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a coming of age film. There's a dark secret in there somewhere, and he just loves her from far. Bit of watching through the window, panty sniffing. And there's that whole masculine growing up, just figuring out your identity and that weird awkward place between childhood and adulthood. And there's some beautiful sprawling landscapes and
Teenage romance. And what about Trev? Tell us about Trev.
Trev was a sort of, they all filled very obvious, what's the word? Archetypes? No, tropes.
Yeah,
he was the young loner guy.
Who is Trev, first of all?
Wait. Trev is the guy, is Ben Mendelsohn, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So Noah Taylor, he was the loner guy who loved it from afar. She was the chick who's got into trouble. That's the thing in Australian films.
She was
got knocked up.
Yeah, the roustabout chick.
Yeah. The bicycle, apparently, was what they called it, because she got rode by everyone in town.
No. Oh, yeah, I guess
They were talking about
it was insinuated
in those ways.
Yeah.
And Ben Mendelsohn was the guy who appeared, and he was all badass, and he stole cars.
He was the footballer, the tearaway.
Yeah.
They called him in the film.
G'day.
Hi.
Wanna smoke?
Yeah.
Or what are you doing later on?
Going home, I suppose.
You wanna come for a drive?
You're not pitching Mrs. Osmond's car again.
Yeah. The old dear went away for the weekend, went up on the train somewhere. We'll go to the race course.
What do we do there?
beat the record. I done 96 round there last time.
Yeah, and Sergeant Pierce caught you.
Yeah, well, it was on the way back. I mean, it was just, bad luck.
And what else did we do?
That's for you to find out, isn't it, if you're game?
Yeah, so he came along and scooped her up, and the watcher from afar type boy just watched from afar as they were canoodling, and then it was sort of unravelled from there. Sorry, I told you not to ask me, bro. I'm just going to be
No,
like...
I like asking you because sometimes you nail it and you get it down like just pat and like it flows really easily, and sometimes you're all over the place. So.
Yeah, I told you this time was not going to be one of those times because I
That's
didn't. When I'm like angry about something, I can just be like, these motherfuckers did this thing. Was when I'm just like, oh fuck's sake,
Yeah.
I'm like, some
That's
teenagers had some sex and they were dumb.
So we'll fill in some gaps in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Danny, Freya grew up together, and Danny has a crush on Freya, which is not reciprocated.
Good way of putting it instead of just panty sniffer.
Yeah. He showed his affections by stealing her underwear and longing for her from afar.
Yes.
Occasionally trying to kiss her, which she didn't reciprocate. Trev was the footballer.
Yeah.
And they at a tearaway met on the farm hauling hay bales and things like that, and they had a bit of a romance develop between Freya and Trev. Trev became trouble, I guess is a good way to put it. He stole cars.
I think he was always trouble because it was that he'd stolen someone's Mercedes again.
That's right, yeah.
The boy had issues.
Yeah.
I think he was kind of the bad boy, which in a small town in the 60s probably meant that he was just what we would call a bit of a hooligan these days.
It's super hot.
Ben Mendelsohn is.
I don't know, the bad boy thing.
Oh, really?
It's just a thing.
See, people go in for that thing.
It works.
No.
It's better than panty sniffing, to be honest.
That is true.
Yeah.
So
You're like, I'm gone into that.
the other significant characters, I guess, were Jonah, played by Bruce Spence, who I like seeing him on screen. Yeah, he's always got a long face. He's in Mad Max.
Yeah.
Plays the gyro captain in Mad Max 2. He was a sort of a railway worker. He kind of worked the signals, lived in a train carriage. Was quite a professional looking guy and was an author as well. He's writing his own book, but fascinated by things like hypnosis, UFOs, and things like that, and spiritualism, and kind of passed that on to Noah and Freya. So Danny and Freya. And the rest were all sort of side characters. I think they weren't overly valuable to the story.
This won 5 out of 5 awards. I'm just going to be...
Yeah, I mean, well, I'd be curious to see what else was produced in 1987 to see what it was up against. I mean, it was... 87 Australian film industry is probably not that advanced. I mean, we had Mad Max and things, but it's still very not amateur, but coming of age, I guess.
Coming of age, yeah.
So, and I mean, from a technical point of view, I thought it was it was well shot, well lit.
Yeah.
You could hear what the hell was going on.
Beautiful, yeah.
The dialogue suffered from what I described for Snowtown. It was that stilted Australian dialogue, waiting for somebody to say their line. Space,
and a stereotypical accent for the time as well.
I hate you, Mum. I hate you too. I hate this whole fucking movie.
Your thoughts, Julia?
Not positive.
That's negative, you guys.
Yeah, I did not enjoy this. Yes, there were some beautiful scenes and some lovely footage, but as a story, it felt bland.
Yeah.
I don't have anything positive to say about this aside from Noah Taylor looking a little bit like Nick Cave at times.
That was nice.
Yeah.
It's because of Nick Cave though, not because of
everyone felt very wooden. I wasn't convinced by the acting.
Right.
I didn't enjoy the dialogue. I didn't enjoy the story. Yes, it felt like a believable story, but some of the aspects of it just felt really unbelievable. Possibly true for the 60s, but that's well outside my sphere of experience.
That's fair.
The fact that, when it was revealed that Freya was pregnant, all of the middle-aged men standing outside the pub jeering.
Yeah.
Was that real?
Is that what went on in small towns? Controversy would have got around quite quickly. Gossip.
I reckon.
Oh, absolutely. And we all know that. But that would never be the kind of thing, at least in my small country town, that would happen where you'd have a large congregation of people coming outside to sneer and speak poorly to someone. It's just not for something like that.
I thought you said Trevor Leishman never got into Freya Olsen's pants.
Because I don't reckon he did.
How come she's pregnant then?
Where'd you get that from?
Liz Elliott, her sister's a nurse.
Could be half a fifth form, probably.
Here she comes. Who's the lucky man? Would be pointing, I reckon.
I think that would happen though. I think we're very realistic.
I mean, that's been portrayed in a couple other films, like The Dressmaker. I think that was the 50s, maybe the early 60s. It had a very similar thing.
They didn't have the internet, you know.
Yeah, there was a lot of small town drama and a lot of everyone knows everyone else's business, and there's a lot of public shaming.
Absolutely. Where I come from, there is actually a saying: if you don't know what you're doing, don't worry, everyone else does.
Right.
I feel like her hair was way more 80s than 60s. I felt like it felt like it was made in the 80s, and you could tell.
It was made in the 80s.
I know, but her hair, like whoever was doing it, tried to make. If I just looked at her, I would have thought, "Oh, this is an 80s movie."
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the production quality and everything else of the film. I mean, I've already spoken about that. How did you feel about that, Julia? You said you weren't convinced by the acting, but what did the
Yeah,
scenery?
I think the sets were good. And the props were appropriate for the time, as well as some of the behaviours of the characters, like the mother cutting up vegetables and putting the scraps into a piece of newspaper and things like that were believable, and you know, it did feel very small country town.
Yeah, it felt
I was convinced by everything except the people.
Yeah, without growing up in 60s Australia, it felt 60s Australia to me.
Aside from her hair.
Yeah. Nobody really overly enjoyed it.
I can see, sorry.
I mean, it was quite I know, you please go.
I can see how, if you experienced that, if you were a young man and you experienced all this, stealing of cars, a friend dying, your friend getting knocked up, people went through some shit. It could be very important and poignant, especially with the nostalgia that goes along with this, and maybe, people looking at it and feeling a sense of, sameness. But it just felt like it was just weird, them following him around like he was a sort of poet, like he was the main character, like he's so lonely, and it felt like someone was looking back at their youth and romanticising it, as opposed to a actual picture of youth.
Which I guess is exactly what it was.
Yeah.
So I think if I was watching this as, a 16, 17-year-old, maybe I could have enjoyed it more. Maybe I would have related more, not specifically to the events that happened, but maybe the teenage romance and those sorts of things. Maybe I'm getting old and jaded now. It doesn't feel quite as
important.
Yeah.
Romance movies are important. This just wasn't one.
It's true.
Toasty,
Yeah.
I think you touched on something really important there with the nostalgia, and I think that's probably why a lot of people have rated this film so highly, because it does really remind them of their youth, and it's just something that we aren't connecting with, having had completely different experiences.
But you can't base a whole film on nostalgia. There's films that I look at, even Snowtown, right? Aside from the dead bodies in the barrels, I looked at a lot of it, and you see your youth reflected because of the shopping carts and the bicycles and the poverty and all this stuff.
But that was 90s Australia, which we grew up in.
But that didn't. I guess it does have an effect on you, but it still didn't carry the whole film. I still left the film being the nostalgia wasn't enough to make me love it.
Right.
So I don't know. But I do get that maybe it helps.
Yeah. So I can imagine people like David Stratton, who gave it 5 stars, and the people who were voting in the AFI Awards at the time, which just won 5 of, I think you mentioned already, were probably grew up in the same era, probably have the same experience and can see that reflected on the screen, and nostalgia is a powerful drug. But it didn't do a hell of a lot for me. I guess there's can you think of any Australian coming of age films? I mean, we keep coming back to
Puberty Blues and all that.
Yeah, and Summer Salt we mentioned. So there's good ones out there. But again, they're all set in eras we're familiar with. Maybe that's the important thing. The themes aren't enough to carry nostalgia.
No, I disagree. I think that there are themes that are common to the 60s and the 90s when we grew up. I mean, people did petty crimes, when we were growing up. Stealing a car was not something that was completely unheard of. Having a friend who, became pregnant as a teenager, and, I'm sure that we have friends who, made the decision to have babies, and friends who chose not to or didn't choose not to.
Sure.
I don't think that those experiences are unique to the decade. I feel that the way that they were portrayed was emotionally disconnected, which may have been a hallmark of the 60s. And we, having grown up in a different time when we were encouraged to talk about our feelings with more openness and clarity and more acceptance of a lot of things too.
Yeah.
Although we did grow up in a time where it's less, the 60s were to the 90s what the 90s are to the decade of today,
Sure.
where there are things that were considered socially unacceptable in the 90s that are okay now. And for us growing up looking at this movie made in the 60s, to look at it and go, that's not okay. Like I've just talked about, jeering outside of the pub, and that would never happen where I grew up. That's a 30-year difference.
But does that still go on in small towns? In some small towns are in Australia.
Possibly.
Yeah.
You know what I think that my issue is that I feel like the difference is dialogue. Is that in, like, for example, Snowtown. Like, Snowtown was not a coming-of-age movie, let's all just be clear.
No.
The movie we watched previously to this film. But I had a snapshot of like, 90s or previously lived Australia in a specific town, a specific socioeconomic context. But they just showed... They showed the shit. There was a video, a film. It's a video of an ice cream van passing. This out of tune sounds, kids licking ice creams, people getting beat up, spray paint on the walls. This slow death. Yeah?
Yeah.
And you're looking at it and you're like, okay, this is a portrait of that time. Whereas I feel like a lot of these, maybe, my issue with the coming-of-age films in the 50s and stuff, it's like, oh, no, Mary's knocked up. What's she going to do? Like, there's this whole, we're talking about it. It's not that they're talking about it, they're just sort of spelling it out. There's not this, and I guess in that they showed video of her, bleeding and having issues and stuff, but it didn't... Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't feel like a portrait of it. It felt like a conversation. It always is, yeah.
Right, it's not quite as...
It's over-dramatised, yeah. There's less, it's less visceral,
yeah,
I guess.
Almost.
And maybe it's because I didn't live in it, so,
Yeah. For me, Ben Mendelsohn didn't feel like Ben Mendelsohn. Who's relatively convincing, and special mention has to go to his laugh.
Oh,
yeah.
Good.
Which I'll attempt to throw in a supercut of after this.
Hey!
What?
It was
Truly an abhorrent sound to hear repeatedly.
It really was. It was quite something, and every time it happened, I couldn't help laughing along with it, which might have something to say for it. And maybe it says something for his character and his ability to act at that age.
And do you know what's weird is that he was supposed to be this bad boy, but that just took you out of the bad boy place because he didn't seem bad. He seemed like a silly little
He
kid.
seemed like a
goof.
fool.
Yeah.
And an absolute doofus. He would not have been considered the bad boy by any means in any place I've ever spent time.
No, I mean, still in the car.
Still in the car, being handsome helped.
I did not find him attractive.
No, I mean, he was fucking 16, but I mean, he's just had that, bad boy thing.
No, even
Right.
16-year-old me would have found him repugnant.
Right.
Right. And what about Noah Taylor, 16-year-old for Noah Taylor?
He looked too
As-
young.
as-
As an
if-
adult, he's fine.
Look, at
as, but
13, I might have gone for it.
Right.
Once again, Nick Cave vibes.
Nick Cave
Sure,
vibes.
sure.
He had the
Yeah.
cool broody thing, but he was just way too young for me to even think about.
And the penny stealing and sniffing
Yeah,
would
made
probably have pushed him into no.
No, he was in the no territory. He just seemed too broody, man. Not broody in the I'm going to act kind of way, just in the really, yeah. He just mulled on this chick for years.
Yeah.
I mean, we all did that. We were teenagers, but damn.
And I suppose he didn't win her in the end. She left town.
Was she actually his sister?
No.
Oh,
So that is part of the story that is something we haven't touched on, is the fact that there was an abandoned, haunted or creepy house up on the hill which Freya and Noah dared each other to stay in, and Freya brought Trevor along for the ride. Freya and
Danny.
Noah. No, he's Noah.
Noah Taylor,
Danny
yeah.
is a mask.
Yeah.
He is and always will be Noah. So where Freya and Danny wanted to stay for a night and dared each other too. Freya brought Trev along. Intimacy was
bloomed, mate.
Yeah.
It bloomed.
Blossomed.
Yeah.
And Danny invests some time in finding out who this house belonged to and the origins of it, and we discover that Freya's mother was the occupant of the house who, it seems, passed away in childbirth, and there's a bit of a mystery about who her father is.
Yeah, there was some sort of insinuation that perhaps Danny's father was the father. He never quite admitted to going to visit this Sarah Ferguson?
Sarah Elizabeth Amory?
Something like that, yeah. But it's... I mean, so we don't really know who her father was, and I don't think it really matters. Yeah. So anyway, just quickly, because we're running out of time, would you recommend Snowtown to anybody? Yes, you would?
No.
Yes, I would.
Okay, why would you, Julia?
I'd probably recommend it to my mother because she makes the most hilarious sounds when she's disgusted.
It's fucked up. It's fucked up, bro. I would not recommend it to anyone. No, I mean, I would recommend it to film students who... I think it's a beautifully shot film. My lack of recommendation is based on do I think it was a necessary film to make? I do have a random feeling about these things, which is that I do feel like we are teaching all these young men and all women, but mostly young men and women, whatever, that if you do some terrible murders, you're going to get a sick Netflix special. Like there's this thing. So I don't feel like recommending these
but you
movies.
can't profit from crime in Australia.
You can't profit from crime, but they do profit in this. Well, now I've got a feature film made out of me. Now you go on Netflix and you can get like making a murder. You do all this fucked up shit, and then they do some like artistic shots of you sawing a body. It's like I have weird feelings about it, so I wouldn't recommend it based on that, and I also wouldn't recommend it because it was just a dirge. It's just sad. Like it's like liking a really good. It's like that photographer who takes photos of starving children and stuff. It's an acquired taste. It's for people who maybe want to get closer to the things, the bad parts of life. I don't always want to get that close.
Sure.
When it comes to like incest rape and like shoving bodies in barrels. But like, hey, if that really, if that story and the fucking cinematographer, the cameraman, aside from the shaky cam, but like the bit when they're in it was, if that movie, if they had directed The Year My Voice Broke, everyone involved in that Snowtown film or another like Somersault, I would have been like, yes, motherfucking yes. It's just the content.
Okay.
That's not my vibe. So I know I'm talking for a long time. You can cut me out. You can cut me out, Podman, but it's so I would say it's subjective, and I reckon they're great filmmakers, and I love the behind the scenes piece. Over and out, toast out.
I would recommend it to people because I enjoyed it. I wouldn't watch it again, but it's worth seeing because it's a very well made film and it was very engaging and it had an emotional effect on me.
Yeah,
that was way more succinct.
aside from me wanting to listen to my mother, which is the noise that she makes.
Pulling off toenails.
It was an important story. It is a part of our history, and I think it could also be used kind of as a bit of a teaching aid of like, this is how easy it is.
Grooming, bruv.
Yeah. And to illustrate some of the ugly undersides of life that we don't necessarily see in terms of, child exploitation and manipulation and domestic violence and control, and it's a great story.
Definitely.
I wouldn't watch it again, but I would definitely recommend it.
I think that's another issue I have with it, which is that they did it too well. Like it was so well done. The actors were amazing. That's the one thing that dude, whatever the main actor was who played the serial killer, was so good.
My notes here somewhere. Daniel Herschel,
# best actor. Like he was amazing. It was just so good that you're like, I feel like I'm watching people kill people and shove them in
barrels.
Okay, super quick. Would you recommend the year my voice broke down?
Peace.
No?
I'm out. No, I'm not even talking on it.
Julia?
If I never think of it again, it'll be too soon.
I don't think I could. Unless
Sorry,
you grew up
John
in the 60s,
Dugan.
maybe I would say, check it out because you'll probably feel nostalgic about it. But overall, it wasn't that great a film.
Did like the cinematography though?
Thank you. That's it for this episode. Next time, I've got 2 films that I've never heard of, and I don't think many people have otherwise, so I'm looking forward to those. One is called Envy, and the other one I'll have to look up again. It might technically be by a New Zealand director and a New Zealand film, but I'm willing to stretch those boundaries.
This is the Australasian film podcast.
Yeah, sure.
We're expanding.
Right, so thank you, Toasty, for attending.
What's up?
Thank you, Julia.
Thank you, Joe.
And we'll see you next time. Serious Yahoos is recorded at Fancy Goods, the noisiest studio in Melbourne. Theme music is Joker by Six Umbrellas via the Free Music Archive. All other samples have been used under fair use laws and belong to their respective copyright holders. Any questions or comments, please contact us at seriousyahoos@gmail.com.